Well, first off, have you ever? Do you know who Mark Wooten is?
No.
Do you know
Does
who?
he run Wooten.com?
No.
I bought a camera like that.
Do you know who Shirley Ghostman is?
No.
Shirley Ghostman is a character by Mark Wooten.
Do you want her to know this?
Well, it's
It works.
I think it goes either way because I mean, when you know what's going on, and you're telling the story like you don't know it, it's beautiful. I mean, for us, it was hysterical. To anyone else, I don't know how funny it was. But Mark Wood, he does this character, Shirley Ghostman, kind of a cross-dressing fake psychic, or well, what psychic is real, but psychic that's just absolutely terrible. I mean, does the worst readings ever, but is still convinced that he's got this gift and everything, and often throws in fraud and everything else as a way to survive this being this psychic. But Mark Wooten loves to do a little bit of the Sacha Baron Cohen thing where he goes out and basically punks people. And our good friend Brian Dunning
From Skeptoid.com.
got to be.
That's his last name, by the way.
Yes. I'm going to do that. I'm going to change my first name to Brian Dunning. And the last name from Skeptoid.com.
That's marketing.
So I get this call from a production company who has a show on Showtime, and the show is called Versus. I looked at their website. They seemed to be. It was a .mac website, first of all, which is a little suspicious, but sometimes people use them. But they had a list of shows, and they're legitimately on Showtime. They had a deal already, so I'm going, okay, it's worth talking to these guys because you get these calls all the time. And they asked me if I'd be interested in hosting this segment on this new show that they've got. I go, well, okay, cool. I asked if did they want to do some screen tests or anything like that, or can I send them some videos? No. We've pretty much decided you're the guy. And I thought that sounds kind of weird and kind of lame, but whatever. I told them how much I cost, and they go, that's great. And they send me a check like in advance, so I'm like paid, and the check clears. And what they wanted me to do was they weren't very clear on what how the show works, but they said it was in like segments, and each segment has a different host. Okay, whatever. And they wanted me to host this segment of the show where psychics come in and get tested. Even though I told them, I don't really do that kind of thing, but they paid me already, and I said, okay, whatever. So I went to a pretty good expense of time and effort to put together some tests for psychics. And one that they really wanted to do was I draw something in my little room, the psychic draws something in their little room, and if they can read what was in my brain and reproduce my drawing, then supposedly they're psychic. So, okay, I do that. I put this together with a whole little protocol and sealed envelopes and everything. And I bring my briefcase and I finally show up at the day of the taping. Can I use bad language?
Yes.
Please.
It's in the shittiest building you've ever seen, in the shittiest part of LA, which is, basically Hollywood. And it looks suspicious. They've got a dressing room with a piece of paper like taped to the door that says, Brian Dunning, host, something like this. And it's really lame. And they've got a table in there with a handful of candy bars just tossed on the counter, and like a couple of soft drinks, and a bottle of water that were all warm. It was just suspiciously lame. But the check had cleared, and I go, okay, I'm gonna do my best to do what these guys hired me to do. So the director comes in and has a little talk with me. He says, we've got these 3 psychics, we want you to give them the test, and oh, by the way, there's a $50,000 reward if any one of them passes the test. They're telling me this 5 minutes before the taping. And I'm saying, I start to go through the whole thing. You don't have any kind of a protocol or anything. Whose $50,000 is this, by the way? Do I owe this? Who's supposed to be paying this? And they didn't, don't worry. Just really lame. And I'm thinking, this is lame, but they paid me. I'm going to do my best, whatever. And they warned me. Now, this third psychic, he has kind of a big personality. The first 2 are these very nice women. I went through the test with them. They both failed. They both drew something, a house or a tree or something like that didn't match, and they were very polite, and they went off. So this third guy comes out that they warned me about. And they bring this guy out. He's wearing a white suit with this fluorescent blue piping on it, and this amazing orange, I couldn't tell if it was a wig or if it was hair, but he was just outrageous looking. And he comes out here, he's all pissed off. Hello. And they told me he's from England, and they told me his name was Shirley. I'm sorry, is that Shelley or Shirley? Shirley. Look, I'm sorry, we have an accent thing going. I want to get your name right for the show. Is it Shirley with an Shirley. Would not answer my question. He's pissed off at me. What?
Sounds Australian the way you're saying it. Shirley.
Sounds Australian. I see. Now I try to do an Australian accent, everyone tells me I'm wrong.
Yeah. Do try.
I won't. Okay, so he sits down. He's standoffish. His thing is that he channels dead celebrities, kings, princes, Hollywood celebrities, whoever. And I start to try and talk to him about his abilities, and he starts giving me the psychic reading. He gets in here, and he's telling me all this psychosexual babbles about me and why I'm so sexually frustrated and what's wrong with me. And I'm going, okay, I think we'll move on to the test now. He doesn't want to move on to the test. He starts kind of getting in my face, what have you got here in your pocket? And I'm getting pissed off at the guy, and I kind of call a halt to this. I say, this guy, we need to get this guy settled down, or this is a waste of everyone's time here. And the camera guys don't do anything. Nothing happens. Nobody in the room moves. The director is out in another room. They've got one guy, this whole time, they've got a guy in my face like this with a camera. The entire time I'm in the building, he follows me around everywhere I go, just like this. And I'm telling him, dude, can you put the camera down? We've got to do something about this weirdo. Nothing happens. Finally, the director comes out and tells the guy, just settle down, we got to do this test, whatever. And he does. So I open up my drawing, and I think I'd drawn like a single straight line. He opens up his envelope, rolls out this giant piece of paper like this with about 1,000 little drawings all over it, everything. Building, car, tree, airplane, ship, animal. And that's his joke, See, I won! Give me the $50,000. And he gets really belligerent. I won my $50,000! And he's like pushing me around. He's like, what's in your briefcase in here? I'm getting pissed off at him. And at one point when he's rifling through my stuff, I just told him, look, dude, this has become a real problem if you don't settle down. Knock this shit off. And I'm astonished that there's no security. There's nothing. The camera guys aren't doing anything at all about it. Finally, I get pissed off. I go and stand in the corner. I'm done with this. I'm not going to have any further part. I just stand there, and still, guys in my face with the camera the whole time. So, they get him to settle down again, and he agrees to sit in the chair. And now he starts to do his channeling dead celebrities. He starts to channel Lee Majors, who's, of course,
Not dead.
Lee Majors is dead. He gets out on the internet and he's trying to prove to me that Lee Majors is dead. And he's looking me up on Wikipedia and says, you were born in... He's looking at the wrong Brian Dunning because there's another guy on Wikipedia. So it's just a joke. Finally, it gets so out of control that I practically force the guy out, and they come out and they tell him to finally leave. I'm starting to dial 911 because there's obviously no security. They kept telling me security's on its way over, which was just BS. Nobody ever showed up. So now the second half of this is that Michael Shermer comes in, and we're supposed to have a conversation about how these psychic tests went. So Shermer sits down. Let me tell you about this set that we're sitting in, by the way. It's two chairs like this, a little table right here with a cheap potted plant. It was like, the Merv Griffin show from 1950. And behind us, there's this poster like this with the Versus logo. Versus was the title of the show, drawn literally in marker pen. Like they drew out pencil lines on it and filled it in with like a Marcelot. And when I saw that, I knew something was wrong. But the check had cleared, so I'm going, okay, whatever. These people don't have their act together at all. They have no idea what a TV show is, but somehow they got a deal, and they paid me, so I'm going to do what they hired me to do. So Shermer and I are sitting here with the potted plant between us. And I figure it's on Showtime, we might as well see what we can do getting the message out about skepticism. So I'm throwing him these softball questions, how do people know how to believe what's real, and things like this, and he's answering them. And then all of a sudden, there's this giant crash, and the doors open, and here comes this guy, Shirley Ghostman, pushing this push cart like this, with a body bag on it, like a dead guy in a body bag. At this point, I go, we're done. This is over. I go over here and I stand in the corner with my little guy and the camera's holding it right in my face. I'm not having any further part of this. Shermer, though, he's all good-natured. He thinks it's funny. Hey, what do you got here? Who's in the body bag? Let's unzip it and see what we've got. And they unzip it, and here's a guy laying in the body bag, a friend of his, I guess someone, with like calculators taped to him. He's got like one of those printing calculators here, one here, and a pocket calculator taped to his arm. It's the $6 million man. He's a cyborg. He's cybernetic. Lee Majors actually is dead. And here's the proof, his own dead body right here. And the guy's acting outrageous. The camera guys are putting on some show, trying to pretend to push him out. And Shermer says to me, what is this? Are they punking us? What is this? And I say, no, this is absolutely real. This guy's just a nut. And that was about how the day ended. And it was days for me before I realized that it was all a put on. Shermer, I think, is smarter than me. He knew it right away. But I bought it for days.
Oh, God, that is so beautiful. Now at the time, you were, after you found out you were punked, did it feel like, oh, that was a pretty funny joke, or were you angry about it, or how did you feel?
I went through a range of emotions pretty quickly, but just decided it was pretty funny. I mean, the whole Borat thing was going on, and I thought that'd be pretty fun. Shermer was really upset about it, though.
Really?
Oh.
And he starts sending all these emails to the director and the production company, and he's CCing me on everything, and they just simply, they're radio silence. They don't return any phone calls or any emails. And I sent a few on my own because I thought I'd had a pretty good rapport with the guy and say, hey, at least the professional courtesy of a reply that, acknowledging it, yes, but
right.
He was talking about lawsuits and everything, and other people started Googling it, and they found that they'd been doing the same thing to other people. They did, what's her name? Daryl Hannah. They did Daryl.
Really?
I'm not sure if her segment aired or not.
I don't think so.
But I guess she's into protecting the California condors or something like that, and so they took her up.
It did air.
It did air?
That was the most gruesome thing I've ever seen.
Okay, well,
They went out and shot one, strapped it onto the top of the car, and in the middle of the drive back, this blood starts pouring down over the top of the car. I completely freaked her out. So he gets out and starts beating it with a bat.
Because it wasn't dead.
it wasn't quite dead. It's not quite dead.
But they were taking it to a wildlife sanctuary.
Okay, well, did she appear on the show?
Yeah.
She did, okay, because what they told us was whoever was Googling this guy and finding out what this production company was doing, people were posting warnings on forums. If you hear a phone call from this production company, don't talk to them. But they said that they got Daryl Hannah up, and they were in the process of driving up to the location, and she was talking to someone on the phone, and during that drive realized this was bullshit, and they turned around and went home and didn't show up at all. That's the story that I
Yeah, she wasn't there for the whole thing.
Yeah, and it seems like I remember a phone call in that, and it was edited beautifully because it was hilarious. That was a really good episode.
The bottom line is they ended up not airing our segment because I think it's because I didn't actually try to punch him, and Shermer was just too good-natured, and they just didn't get as much of a fight from us as I think
As they would have expected. Well, it seems like they managed to get 6 episodes out of the show when they did it in England, and I think they only managed to get 4 here before word
Was it
got
only
around.
4 episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, only 4 episodes got produced before enough word got around they couldn't make any more.
Yep.
Okay.
So-
I thought more than that might have aired.
Nope, just 4.
She's sorry she wandered in now.
Actually, I have to grab a book. I have to be back here in time because the panel I'm doing is in.
Oh, we've been making you miss your panel.
I'm not missing it yet.
I wouldn't say I'm
really
missing
missing
it. How'd you like the story though?
It was excellent.
True Debbie Goddard fashion, right
Very
there.
funny. What? I guess I've been thinking about this a lot. My boyfriend is the one who prank called the governor of Wisconsin a couple months back.
Oh.
You heard about that?
Yep.
Yep. What?
Oh, I didn't hear anything.
I didn't
Is
hear
David
about that.
Cook? Yeah, they had like a 20-minute phone call with the governor of Wisconsin.
You actually got the governor on the phone.
Not me. I had nothing to do with it. I was the one who was just like, that's stupid, that's never gonna work.
And it did.
He did it, he put it on YouTube, it was all over, it was like front page Huffington Post.
I'll have to check it out.
Did some men in black show up at his door the next day? And
No, it was
We were busy.
It was sort of legal, it was mostly legal at least, I'm not sure. I guess both New York and Wisconsin are one party recording states, so as long as one person calls being
Yep.
recorded, it was fine. There's still the question about impersonating a Coke, but further inspired by rallies, and a couple weekends later, Michael Moore was in Madison, and all this stuff happened. And so we've been talking about, ethics of pranking and things like what the Yes Men do.
Oh man, my brother and I did a great one to a radio show once. You want to hear about that?
Sure.
It's a shorter story. Okay, get out of
See
here.
you,
I'll be
Debbie.
back in a moment. I have to
So,
grab my stuff at the panel.
My brother was working at UC Irvine at the time. And so he had all this kind of insider knowledge about events on campus. And there was this speaker and author, I think his name was, I'm going to call it David Soul. That's not right, but that's really close to it. This guy was a speaker on, I think, gay issues or something. And so the campus radio station is going to have him come on the air and do an interview.
And saying, don't give up on us, baby.
And exactly. And he's late. We're listening to the campus radio station, my brother and I, and the guy isn't there yet. And so we make a couple of phone calls, and he says, well, let's take some calls waiting for our guest to arrive. And so we make a couple of phone calls in that, just some fake calls, just kind of filling airtime. And my brother had a character that he would do. He would sometimes call this station and say that he's Zargon from the planet Argon or something like that, in this weird voice. And he did that once, and so the guy kind of got into the mode of, oh, okay, we're hearing from some of our old friends now, and then we did the perfect one. My brother calls again and says, hi, this is David Soul. I'm sorry, my car broke down. I'm at a gas station, but I'm on a payphone here, but can we do the interview over the phone? And the guy says, yeah. So I'm sitting here in the room, my brother's on the phone pretending to be this David Soul guy. We're listening on the radio, just having a great time, cracking up. And he talks to him for about 10 minutes. And again, my brother worked there and he knew a lot about what this program was on campus, so he was able to intelligently impersonate the guy for some minutes. And then he finally says, hey, wait, somebody's knocking on the phone booth door here. Oh, excuse me, let me get rid of this guy. And then I grabbed the phone and said, this is Zargon from the planet Argon. and we murdered him horribly over the air. And we hang up the phone and we're laughing, and the radio's just silent. And the guy was just sitting there. There's only 5 people that listen to the campus radio station, so it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was pretty fun.
That is pretty funny.
She
That is
brought
pretty
up a
funny.
good point, though.
What, yes, men?
They need the yes men here.
It would be interesting.
Talk about controversial.
That's true. That's true. And yeah, I mean that's we've kind of become the yes men of paranormal investigation research. So
Unfortunately.
Should I say yes to you? Would that,
Really?
should I agree with that statement?
I think you should.
Yes, Baxter, yes.
I'm so glad I got that on video. Well, thank you so much for your time.